This is Hawkins Mr. Bread Show. Hawkins Mr. Bread Show. And right now, I want to play something from a black man who basically is talking about Afrocentrism. I want you to hear from some. I'm going to play two videos, and I'm going to have my own opinion about it. But I just want y'all to hear the videos first, because I know there's a lot of y'all out there who are probably Afrocentrics. And I just want to see what you think about what this guy's saying about Afrocentrism. I want to see what you think.
Afrocentrics are the biggest douchebags in the universe. These ass clowns look like Rastafarian hippies that dress themselves in the closet while goofed up on LSD after watching way too many Tarzan movies and listening to the Wailers. I've come to realize that these people are stupid. I mean, to rely on poems, short stories, and other things to make up for their lack of depth, substance, and accountability, not to mention the reluctance to actually attack the problems in their community. It shows that they're part of the problem. They never have a solution. I mean, look, they defend pedophiles or they'll form radical groups that worship mulattoes and other races. And that's a sign that they have neither real dignity, competence, nor pride. And they're doomed to perpetuate failure. Most radical of the lot in their attempt to make up for a lack of identity tend to adopt the customs of non-blacks, and then they'll claim it was being their own, originating from some long-lost Negro race that migrated to Africa from some unknown location, usually Asia. And they claim these Negroes usually have straight hair like Dravidians or some other color like green. They came from space. The Jews, the Hebrew Israelites, or they're Asiatic black men that came from the Arabian Peninsula into Africa. And somehow their hair got nappy and they got prognathism and wide noses and their knees and their thighs start rubbing together and they got splayed feet. And somehow all this shit started happening after they got into Africa, but somehow the Berbers avoided. But oh, by the way, they're Berbers too. They're Berbers. They're Persians, they're Chinese people. All these people came from blacks. The first samurai was black, because the last one was white. Basically, man, they ripped this shit off from the Aryans. So not only are they ripping off cultures, or at least the origin of cultures, not only are they ripping that off, they're ripping off the entire theory of it from the Nazis Aryan theory, which is pathetic. And then you got those guys that adopt a holistic lifestyle, which seems to be some guys sitting around inducing large amounts of THC, leeching off women, smoking weed, having no job or ambition, wearing natural hair, and fucking spics, whites, Asians, and anyone else they can dub people of color, which is basically a term created by them to deem certain races suitable for interracial reproduction, while justifying it to themselves in contrast to the supposed Afrocentric beliefs. You know, these adopted lifestyles and beliefs that accompany them are created out of rebellion against whites who once befriended or dated them. Once they feel betrayed by these non-blacks, they'll rebel in a way that makes it feel like the whites will regret what they've done. They're gonna adopt this African way of life, which is some feral way. It's based on racism more than fact. But they'll adopt this African way of life, and the whites are supposed to feel guilty because the black guys become all feral and drop their civilized demeanor. They're shaking off the shackles of oppression. Basically, being black is backwards. This is why they always complain about whites or other non-blacks all the time, and they're concerned with their affairs. But when a non-black mollifies them, you know, the Afrocentric gets all enthralled and flattered, so they can reestablish relations with them. Though they'll never fully relinquish their Afrocentric beliefs, at least not too fast, so they don't come off as a hypocrite. This is the reason why militant blacks seem to love whites and date any non-black they can, because they're full of shit. The whole lifestyle is imaginary. It's created out of rebellion. And if they actually had an identity, they wouldn't need to rip off some Chinese guy. They wouldn't need to claim that Korea was founded by the Nubians. They wouldn't need any of that shit because they'd have an identity. They're jealous of all these other races. They're jealous of their accomplishments. And they know deep down in their heart of all hearts, they'll never be anything but ex-slaves. So basically, Afrocentrics, fuck you, you're gay. With AIDS.
Real Vision Radio. I just wanted to play that because I want to make sure that we get something straight here. I have no problem with Afrocentrics, but I don't like the radical ones. But I'm going to play another one, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like the radical ones, like this guy. But I'm going to play another video from this guy, this black dude.
All right, here's the deal. Finally get to talk about this subject. The fact of the matter is this. The Olmecs were not black. They did not come from Africa. They weren't Egypto-Nubian or any of this other nonsense. And there's no evidence to prove that this is the case. I mean, you gotta ask yourself. You gotta ask yourself some serious questions. Like, why didn't these people bring their own crops to Mexico? Why are there no ships and no scraps of wood from the Nile or Niger River valleys? The Olmec staple crop was corn. There's no Guinea rice. There's no wheat. There's no frankincense. There's none of that. There's no cocoa yam. There's none of that stuff. There's no African taro root. None of that. Why didn't they bring that to America? What did they survive on? Why didn't they bring any of their native animals? Why didn't they bring any of that stuff? I also find it funny that there's no megalithic architecture. They were able to carve these giant heads, but they used mounds to build the pyramids. And the deal is that pyramid building stopped in Egypt around like the 1700s, like 1700 BC, somewhere around that time. The last one was built. Step pyramids stopped being built long before that. But people ignore that. The reasons why they were built are different. The tombs, there aren't any similar tombs. None of the religions are similar. None of the artwork is similar. The jade sculptures, why do they look like Native Americans? I mean, look, the stone heads have various features. The jade sculptures, they're from a similar period, but they have an appearance that matches contemporary Native aesthetics. This is an indigenous culture that had nothing to do with Nigwads, the Chinese, or the Japanese. Hell, the Mandi were iron workers for 3,000 years, but where's the iron in Mesoamerica? Matter of fact, where are the megalithic heads in Mandi civilizations? These things don't add up. And they don't, you got these guys who are using things like isolated natives with black African DNA, as if they haven't migrated in 500 years due to colonialism. There are many slaves who were marooned. They're the Maroons that went into the mountains. They isolated themselves in rural areas. Many times, they were assisted by native populations. Some of these blacks died out, some integrated with the European societies or with Native Americans. Some were autonomous. Ultimately, this is another dumbass attempt by self-loathing Afrocentrics to try and build up their empty sense of self. But ultimately, they have to come to realize that you can't build a foundation on a shell. It'll just crumble, like the evidence that you nignogs use to make yourselves the Olmecs. You don't have anything to stand on at all. You have scant DNA evidence of many groups. You have, that's it, that's actually it. You're using that and the heads, because if you try to go the pyramid route, you're going to fail every time. you're going to fail every time, because the pyramids are nothing like Egyptians. They're nothing like it. You try to use the written language, they're not using Egypto-Nubian cuneiform. There's no written language known, and the only thing close is the stuff the Mayans use. Not to mention their older civilizations in southern and farther south in the main continent of South America, around Peru. They're older civilizations. It's not a mother civilization. The people look like the modern Mayan tribes. It's called Olmec because of where it was found. That's not what they call themselves. They could very well have just been another Mayan settlement, because they look the same, similar society. Mayans are known for just abandoning their societies. They're still fucking there. You know? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They're not the Olmecs are not fucking black, and they're not Chinese. You guys need to stop claiming other people's cultures. It's clearly an indigenous culture. There's no evidence in any other way. And matter of fact, what's this Egypto-Nubian crap? I mean, I like how they're using this because you know the Egyptians are not black. They're not. And the Nubians, they don't look like you. They have nothing to do with sub-Saharan Negroes. And it's not a Mande civilization because they didn't have. They had boats that went up and down the Niger, but they didn't go across the ocean. And the people that claim they did, that was in the Islamic era. That was long after Ouagadougou had fallen. So I'm not seeing how this happened 3,000 years ago. The Mande didn't start really going out into the ocean until like the 1500s. Their shipbuilding and their sailing had everything to do with the Nile. I mean, the Niger River, excuse me. The Niger River. That was it. That was their sailing. Shipping gold up and down the river. So there goes that bullshit.